Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
All right, well, this is a very exciting opportunity for people to hear a wonderful author, Judy Hopkins, who's calling in from Bishop's Cleeve in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire. I'm not getting that right.
Don't worry,
Gloucestershire in the UK.
Yeah.
And the reason that Judy's calling is because her book was the book of the month for us. And I have to just tell you, for our June issue, when I read that book, it's so much to do with hospice and it's so much to do with people who have passed away and how we get through it. And Judy, although she lives in England and she's been a trained midwife and hospice nurse, it was almost as though you were sitting right by me when I was reading your book. You really put it all together, Judy.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a great academic or anything, but I love to talk and I love to communicate, and and I just wrote a lot down at the time, and I just enjoyed putting it all down. Put it that way.
And the book's name, Lucy's Rainbow: A Journey of Hope. I mean, that everybody wants a rainbow, you know.
I know. And, it's a funny title because obviously it's about something very sad that happened.
Yes.
But, the whole thing about the rainbow is the light after. We can't have the rainbow if we don't have the rain, as it were. And I think as we go through life, and many of your readers will have experienced and listeners will have experienced a lot of different things in their lives. And I think as we allow these things, we can become richer for it. We can't explain it always, but we actually grow through our experiences and dare I say it, the sufferings that we go through. I think we can grow through them. Put it that way.
Yes, and of course, you're losing your wonderful husband, Russ, and having two young daughters. You talk about pain. It probably doesn't ever get worse than that, does it? Well,
I guess for me, it was really the worst thing that I could have imagined happening, because I didn't meet him and marry him till I was 33 anyway. So I was older, and I'd so wanted to be married since I was 18, sort of thing. So, I couldn't believe it, really, and I kept saying to him, "You're not going to die on me, are you?" Because I was trying to preempt something happening that I couldn't imagine in a way. And then for it to actually happen, was, for me, I think a lot of people are sort of born managers, or they run companies and they're very good at managing things, whereas I was a nurse, and a lot of nurses have to be good at managing things. I know that, but my forte was more the caring side, and so I just, for me to have lost him, I just didn't know how I was going to manage. Basically, I really, really didn't.
And did your daughters? They must have helped a lot, because you had to, as much as they missed him terribly, you had to be there for them.
That's it, and I think, I do put in the book that, some of my grief, as it were, I put on hold. I didn't hide things from them, but because when you've got young children, you just, there are so many practical things that you need to do in the house and looking after them. And I remember that when the youngest went off to nursery for 2 afternoons a week, I would actually think, right, I've got 2 hours, sort of 2 sessions of an hour and a half, and I just earmarked those times to allow the grief to really surface. And I think we're all different. Some people probably couldn't do that, but I did that, and sometimes I just wail. We're in a detached house, and it was just so painful for me to take in, really. So that's what I did, and I didn't try to hide. I tried to sort of go through what I was feeling instead of just to put it in the back, because I so didn't want it all to rear up at a later date. I wanted to face what was happening, but it was very, very painful, as I'm sure a lot of people will identify with. For me, it was like, if I use a picture, it was like sort of, say you've got an old car and a lot of the paint has gone. It was like sort of scratching with my bare fingernails. It was just like that for me, and it seemed to sort of well up, and then over a few days, it would sort of ease a bit, and then it would come back again, and it was like ebbing and flowing, and that's just how it was. And I think no two people are the same, but I think a lot of people do speak of grief as being a journey, and certainly for me it was a journey. Yeah.
And the picture on your cover of that beautiful child, is that really a picture of Lucy?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's Lucy when she was 3 years old.
Gorgeous.
And my late husband, Russ, took that picture.
Oh, how beautiful.
He took it, yeah. He took the actual picture, and so it is just quite amazing.
It was really, right, it was perfect. It was perfect for you. Well, and you're being a hospice nurse and understanding so much of this. When it happens to you, it's so different, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, it's so different. It's so different. And you just go, I guess I just went into automatic pilot. It was useful. I did find my experience as a nurse useful, because I didn't sort of have any fear of the hospital. The hospice, although he was actually in a children's hospital for his bone marrow transplant, and I didn't actually have any fear of that, of my surroundings, because there was a familiarity to them. So I think in that sense it was a bonus, but having nursed him, I didn't want to do hospice nursing again for quite a while. I just thought I could not do it,
And have you done it?
Yes, I have. I did. I had time out, and then I did back to nursing, and I'm actually working in the same hospice,
wow,
the Rider Hospice in Cheltenham, that I worked before. Yeah, and it's a great privilege, tremendous privilege to nurse people in that setting. Yeah, it really, really is. I never thought I'd do it.
Well, let me ask you. So now, how old is Lucy? How old are they now, Lucy and Rachel?
They've grown up now, because I didn't actually put pen to paper. It took quite a few years, and then I waited to get it published. So Lucy is 18, and Rachel is 19.
Oh my heavens! I didn't realize. Yes, I guess I did realize that. Now I think about it, but so this was something you just. Did this help you when you wrote the book a lot? I bet it did.
It helped me phenomenally. I think as a person, I always thought I'd write a book. It's funny, isn't it? I just thought I would, and I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be about. And when my husband was having the bone marrow transplant, and he had a reaction to it, and he was very, very ill, they called the chaplain, and the chaplain came to him, and he started telling the chaplain about his testimony, how he had met with God on a hill, in Cleve Hill, near where I live. God had met with him at a moment of real desperation in his life. God had really revealed himself to him. And Russ, my late husband, Russell, told the chaplain this story. And the chaplain said to him, "Oh, you're a computer programmer, you ought to write this down." So when he died, I felt that I needed to write down his story. And I started to write it down, and I started to write my part in it, my involvement. Oh, sorry, that's my dog.
That's okay. It makes it real.
my daughter Rachel's gonna put him in. I started. Rachel, get a treat.
Right, get a treat. That's right.
He's
Dogs
getting
love
a treat.
treats.
Or pepper. He likes pepper. He likes red peppers.
Oh, my dog loves broccoli and peppers and carrots.
Yeah, there you go. And he's been a blessing, this dog. I can't
I'm
tell
sure
you.
he has. That's right.
Darling. He's a cockapoo, and he's called Bradley.
Oh.
Anyway, yes. So what was I saying? Yes. So I had this idea to write it down, and then when my husband did die, a lady in my church called Eileen, she said to me, "Judy, write everything down. Write what's happening. Write how you're feeling." So I did, right at the very beginning. I wrote things down. And I'm one of these people who used to write 5-year diaries and all this sort of thing. And I'd often write to missionary friends and that as if I was just with them. So it was quite easy for me just to jot things down. And I found that I just wrote anywhere. I'd be having a tire put on the car, and I'd have my bit of paper, and I'd be writing. And I was just writing the whole story of his story and how we'd met and the whole scenario really. And then when it went on a bit, it became apparent. I think I may have talked to some publishers at that time, talked to the publisher then, but it just became apparent that it had to be my story, because otherwise it would be like a third person. So therefore it became the story of how we coped as well. But it was very therapeutic for me to write things down. And I think also at the back of my mind I thought, the girls will always have this. They'll always have this record. But also the driving force, in all honesty, was because I just so long for people to hear about how much God loves them and to have a relationship with the Lord Jesus themselves. And somehow that really was the driving force behind the whole thing. But I also wanted people to be able to express their grief. I felt very much I wanted, I think probably in England more than America and Florida, in the past there's been this, just put on a brave face, just smile. And I was trying to sort of knock that on the head, really, and try and say, no, you don't have to do that. You can be real about this situation, because it is an awful situation.
Yes,
So,
I think you did an excellent job. I noticed it, and what I loved on the beginning with the rose, it says, "For my darling girls, Rachel, who saw the rainbow, and Lucy, who drew it." So, I mean, that really was perfect, and for them, this is the book that helped them to, you had big problems, but they did too, and they would always have it. But this was their salvation, I think.
Yes, it was really special. It was so special. So many lovely things. And in fact, my daughter does illustration now at university, and the fact she drew those the roses and everything at the chapters, and she did those as well. And the fact that Lucy, her name means light bringer, which is quite amazing, really. And and so the whole thing of the rainbow and the whole thing of hope, really, coming through the pain, is what I wanted to convey.
Well, your daughters are really beautiful. In the book, I'm looking at the pictures, of course, the little ones when they were but then the one, and is that the same dog where it shows the Hopkins at Home 2011?
That's it. He's the one who just had the treat and the pepper.
He's so cute. Oh, yeah, he's wonderful.
So cute.
And how old is he?
He has a story, because my younger daughter, there were two things. She wanted another daddy, which hasn't happened yet, and I'm still hoping and praying that we'll find the right person for our home. But she also wanted a dog. And when she got to be 13, she said to me, "Mummy, if I don't have a dog now, I won't be able to train him." And it was such a big thing for me. It was a big responsibility, being a single parent. And my mother had died by this time, and I was traveling to my father often with the girls. But I said to the Lord that, he had to make it so clear to me if he wanted us to have a dog, because it was such a big thing for me. I had this idea that I'd never be able to have a day out. I'd always have to be there. And anyway, I went up one day and I went to this hill, the same hill that features in the book so often, Cleve Hill. And I went up. That's where my husband proposed to me. And I said to God, look, I've had enough of this. You know, I felt he was trying to communicate to me through things I'd read, things I'd hear. I just sensed within me, because I do spend time reading the Bible and seeking him each day. I just sensed that he was trying to tell me that I needed to take a risk. I needed to take a jump and get this dog. And I went on the hill and I said, look, Lord, I've had enough. I've had enough. You've got to do something. If you don't show me clearly now, I'm not doing it, you know. And this man was just about to hit his golf ball, and he put down his golf club.
Yeah.
Or he held it anyway. He stopped hitting, and he just deliberately walked over to me. And I've never known this happen before or since. And he just looked straight at me and he said, you look like the sort of person who ought to have a dog.
You're kidding. Now that's, I can't believe that. You're just, oh my heavens. You're kidding. And so did he have one?
No, he didn't have a dog, but he just said that. And I just said, I don't believe this, you know. And then he just sort of turned around again and off he went. And I just felt, I have to do this. And I did. And I ended up getting our dog. And he's been such a blessing to the girls.
Now, that is a great story.
That.
That's right. That story wasn't in the book, I don't think, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Well, that really was a great story in this. So I want everyone to know I am now having the privilege of talking to Judy Hopkins, who wrote the book called Lucy's Rainbow, A Journey of Hope. And she is calling in from the UK, and we're having a delightful conversation because she's the book of the month for us for this month. Last month, which was June. And it was just joyful to read it. And it's joyful. It's very sad. Let me just say that ahead of time. But so many of, especially people over 50, we've all lost. We've lost our parents. We've lost children. We've lost husbands, and husbands lost wives. It's for our audience here in South Florida. We know what loss is. And Judy puts it, though, in such a beautiful way, and how she's tried to, take care of her daughters and do everything she's supposed to do, and still be a very religious person, and still be someone looking for the future, which I think is really important for you. And Russ would, of course, expect that. That's right. He would definitely want that. Yes. So tell me about Russ. Would you tell me a little bit about him? What was he like?
Yeah.
What was he like?
I'll tell you. Okay. Well, he wasn't an extrovert. He was much more of he was full of fun. He had a great sense of humor. He was so funny. Even when he was having the transplant in hospital, he was sort of winking at me and suggesting that he was going to put some of the instruments in his pocket when they weighed him, so that he'd weigh a bit more, because he so didn't want to have the intravenous infusion in there. And he was just a joker. He was a real joker, and he was a real man of integrity and purpose. But that wasn't always the case. And between the age of about 18 and 21, 17, he sadly ended up smoking heroin at university, and really trying all different things. He was seeking a faith, but he had not found what he felt was the answer. And he really did go through a very bad time, and that's what led him to end up on the hill. And out of nowhere, he sensed the words in his heart, really. I'm not saying it was an audible voice, but he just sensed, why don't you become a Christian? And he just thought that was God speaking. And with that, he came down from the hill, and he deliberately put his heart to follow Christ. And it was just incredible the way that it says in the Bible that the Lord can make up the years that the locust has eaten. And that really did happen for him. And so when we got together and then we had our children, got together, we got married, and it was such a blessing for him. He felt we were just living in a world of blessing, in a land of blessing. And when we had the diagnosis about his illness, the first thing he said to me was, we need to pray. And we did. We just sat down in our sitting room and we gave the situation to God. We committed it. And our prayer was that he would use the situation for his glory, that he would be glorified through what was happening to us. We didn't know how that was going to happen. We obviously didn't know he was going to die. We really didn't think he was going to die. But our earnest prayer as committed Christians was that Jesus would be revealed, that he would be revealed through us. And when he went through the transplant, and this all happened in Bristol, and he seemed to be getting over it. And Russell actually said to me, when he'd had the complication after that, he said, in a way, he said, for him, he could see the purpose in that, because he thought he would have just gone back to life as normal. But because of the complication, we then went on to have another incredible experience, because he wasn't a guy who was very, as I said, very extrovert and full of his feelings all the time. He was a serious but funny person, and he wouldn't he'd never pretend anything or anything like this, but he definitely had it was first when he was converted when he was 22, and then when he died when he was 39, he had 38, he had another real experience of the Lord. The Lord was very close to him, during those years, but he had a real sense that God met with him just a week before he died. And I guess that helped me as well. And he felt that God met with him, and God said to him that he was in charge of his life. And he also said something else that I've put in the book, and it's at the beginning. And he actually said, which nobody likes to talk about hell these days, I know that, but he actually said, nobody needs to go to hell because of what I've done. That was Jesus speaking to him, because of the cross, because of what had happened. Because Russ actually felt he was just going to be catapulted. He felt so bad. This was in Bristol when he'd had this complication after the bone marrow. He felt so bad. He thought he was just going to end up like a lump of meat. He just was feeling so bad. And God met with him. The Lord Jesus met with him and said, you don't have to go to hell. Nobody does if they commit their lives to me. And again, we never know what happens to people, even in the last moments of life, when they don't even have consciousness, because God can meet with people and they can respond to him.
That's one reason, it's interesting you say that, because I know that as a gerontologist, that when someone is dying or they're just very sick, should never talk negatively about anything that they don't think that they can hear. I think they can hear every minute until they die.
I do too. They always say that hearing is the last
exactly
sense to go, and it's just such a privilege to be with people when they're in that position. And there's so much we don't know, isn't there? It's like I had a friend who was blind, and she had so many other senses that she used, and I think we always think it's negative if somebody loses a sense or they lose something, but actually it's not always negative at all. It's often got very positive aspects, like you say. And no, that I totally believe you, and that's partly why I do what I do, because as a nurse, I I really believe it matters to these people, and I believe that they're made in the image of God, and we must respect and care for people, right, even though they don't seem to know that we're there.
Right, and it's interesting when you talk about this that so many people now, their families aren't even with them when they're dying, and a nurse like yourself is the last person they know.
Yes. That's it. And I think, sometimes families nowadays, God puts different people into families, doesn't he? He'll bring, like a neighbor and a close friend can be very important to someone whose relations live on the other side of the world. That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
And everybody needs to just be grateful for who they have around them.
That's true. What I want to do, Judy, though, is go over a couple of things people will really. I want them to be able to buy the book, and so I guess, is it true that they could get on Amazon and get it, but they also could go to your publisher called authenticmedia.co.uk, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's the site. But if you just Google it, Authentic Media,
exactly.
That's right, in the UK. Yep.
Now,
but also it's on Amazon. Definitely, it's on Amazon as well.
Right, and it's Judy Hopkins, and the name is Lucy's Rainbow: A Journey of Hope. And I just wonder, do you think now that you've written one book, you're going to write another one?
Well, I think there will be another one. I did have help, and Helen Porter helped me with this. She's written a lot of books, and she helped me to put it all together.
Organize
and everything.
It, sure.
And she's a full-time writer, and so but I do think so. I really, really do think I would do more writing, and I've been to numerous literature days and weekends, and
you write very well, Judy. You do write very well. I liked it. Yes, it was very easy to read. I'm so glad that you decided that we could put you as Book of the Month for our June issue.
Well, I'm delighted. I'm privileged to do
Thank you.
It's a lovely thing, and to read your magazine and hear about you all.
Thank you.
It's just lovely.
Thank you, Judy. Well, we've just run out of time, but we thank you so much, and we will be putting this on YouTube so the whole world will be able to see it and hear it, okay?
Oh, aren't you kind? Isn't that lovely? Thank you so much.
And give your dog a big hug. Okay, bye.
I will. Okay, bye, Anita. Bye.